Hey everyone, it is Kerry with Trail Traveler, and we've got another product for you today. Since overlanding and camping season is coming up, everyone is asking about power, and we've done some previous power stations before. We have another one today. This is the Ampace Andes 600 Pro. But let's pop back in time a month or so. I was contacted by Ampace and asked if I wanted to review a new power station they had. And I was a bit reluctant because I already had a power station in the 580 watt size. I didn't need another one. But as I dug into the features, the technology in the device, and the background of the company itself, I decided to give it a go and see if it would really replace my pretty dated Blue Eddy EB55. So I agreed to have one sent over, and they did. And it's right here. Like all of our product reviews, the company is only allowed to view the video in advance to check for technical accuracy. They don't have any control over what we say in terms of our usage, our tests, or the opinions of the product. This is the only way we ever agree to do a product review. They're not allowed to say, well, you said something negative. No, that's not how we do things. That said, what we have here, again, is the Ampace Andes 600 Pro. This is a new design from their previous model that boasts a bunch of improvements. I never saw the first one other than some reviews and stuff, so didn't have a chance to check it out myself. As you can see, this thing is pretty small. Here's my monster that I always have with me. It's only 11.2 by 8.2 by 8.4 inches and weighs in at 16.8 pounds. So pretty lightweight unit here. Now compared to the EB55, it's really close in size, but it claims to have a little bit more power. Not much, just a little. Rated for 584 watt hours, and they claim a 95% efficiency. So that should give you 554.8 watt hours of battery capacity. The unit uses lithium iron phosphate batteries that are rated to 2,000 cycles to 80%. Now, if you drained and recharged it fully every single day, after 5.5 years, it would still charge up to about 80% of its rated capacity. So these things are built to last for a long time. Now, if you charged it once a week for your weekend trip, that's 38.5 years. So these batteries are really designed for long term. When recharging it from line power that's plugging into the wall, it'll go to 80% in 1 hour, and from 0 to 100% in an hour and a half. So pretty fast, which is kind of expected when you have a unit with this type of battery capacity. If you had 1,000 watt hour, it's going to take longer to charge. But this thing, pretty quick to charge, and it comes with a 3-year warranty. Now the AC output, as you can see on the front, is 600 watts of steady power with a peak output of 1,800 watts. And that's pure sine wave output. Now, why is pure sine wave output important? Well, some devices don't like dirty power. Pure sine waves gives a really clean power. One area where that really plays in for me personally is with drone batteries. If they're not getting good clean power, the charger turns off, or it just doesn't charge the batteries well at all, or it takes way longer to charge. When they're getting pure sine wave, everything works just fine. So making sure when you're looking at power stations that they do pure sine wave output. Now, along with the 12 volt outlet that we have here that I have railed on in every power station review because I absolutely despise it. Anyone who's had a fridge in the back of their vehicle has probably had it come unplugged from here. It also has DC 5521 ports. So that's good. Now, they may not be as good as a mini Anderson plug or something else, but it's still better than just the 12-volt port on here. Now, all of these ports are rated to 12 volts at 10 amps or 120 watts max. Now, it supports emergency power supply, not UPS. So, yes, you can plug things into it, and if the power goes out, it'll switch over to battery power. But that switchover takes about 20 milliseconds. Now, this is not a big deal for some appliances, but some, like if you have a desktop computer plugged into it, it will probably shut off. So other devices can handle it. You know, your lights may flicker for a second, or some things you may never even notice. Your TV might flash for a moment, but other devices, they'll just keep running because they don't care if the power goes on and off. But let's get into our testing and see how the Andes 600 Pro handled our test. Now, first up is our diesel heater test. Now, if you know, we're using an H-calorie SS2 diesel heater. Since this is pretty much identical to most of the diesel heaters out there, we want to see if the 600 Pro here can fire up the heater and how long you can expect it to run the heater for. Now, not every power station will run a diesel heater, but unlike many, if not most, battery stations, the Andes 600 Pro handled startup, running, and shutdown of the heater perfectly from the 12-volt board. The startup and shutdown draw the most power and together eat up about 2% of the battery capacity. Running the heater on level 2, which is what we typically run it at while we're in the tent and out camping, the heater only draws about 12 watts. So for an 8-hour run, that only amounts to 96 watt hours. Combined with the startup and shutdown, that adds up to about 107 watt hours per heating cycle. So in theory, you could get 5 nights of heat on a full charge. Now, if you had a 100-watt solar panel and in a little over an hour, you would have the battery fully recharged every day. So, good news if you want to run a diesel heater, this thing is going to do the job. Now, how did it handle our fridge test? The fridge is an Iceco VL45 set on eco mode with low battery protection, set to 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and loaded about 70% capacity of drinks and things. And I use it as a daily refrigerator. I pull my drinks out throughout the day. I put new ones in that are room temperature. The temperature range ran from about 50 degrees at night to 77 degrees during the day, so fairly typical type of spring-fall test. We started it right at noon on a Sunday, and the fridge finally turned off on Wednesday at 7:54 a.m. for a grand total of 67 hours and 54 minutes. Now, of course, your mileage will vary based on your own usage, the ambient temperature, all that stuff, but it's a solid baseline of what to expect in that situation. This would easily get you through a weekend camping trip. Again, if you had a solar panel, you would never run out of power. It's just not pulling enough power off of this to burn out the battery. Now, they did send us their solar panel. It's a 100-watt solar panel, and we'll look at that in another video. It's pretty nice. It's quality-wise on par with other units we've seen, so that's fine. Now, so far, so good. We know it'll power a diesel heater and running a decent-sized fridge. No issues at all for the Andes 600 Pro. Now, I did watch another video on YouTube that showed the app functioning. I was not able to get the app to work right away. When I would enter my phone number, I would get an SMS error trying to create an account. So I sent an email to the company, the representative that I was talking to anyway, and the next day the issue was resolved. So minor hiccup, but I was able to get the app up and running without any issues. Now, it's not likely to be an issue for anyone else now since it was reported and they fixed it. So not going to knock it for a little hiccup in the app since they did fix it immediately and it's been working fine ever since. This does, however, bring up a specific pet peeve of mine. I see absolutely no reason that an app for a power station, a refrigerator, a winch, I'm talking to you, Warren, or any non-connected product, and I mean that's a product that you can access over the internet somewhere, should require any type of login or account to use. It simply adds to the potential issues someone can run into when that company's services are not available for whatever reason. And this is a case in point. It's also a security issue for some people who don't want to give out personal information. But those things aside, let's take a look at the app. This is the Ampace app. You can see I've got the Andes 600 Pro on there. Click on that. We can see it's got 92% battery available. AC output is off. The DC output is off. I can just really quickly turn one of those on, turn it off again. What we have for AC input, if we had anything going, DC input, which would be like our solar panels. Ambient light is on, sleep mode, LED. So I can turn the LED on and off. I can turn the ambient light. It's called the ambient light. I can turn that on and off. And I can put it into sleep mode, or I can slide to power it off. We can go into our settings. Nickname, I can name it whatever I want. The ambient light mode, breathing, sparkling, diffusing, single. So some interesting modes on that ambient light up here. I'm not going to go through them. The LED mode, low brightness, high brightness, SOS, and strobe. A boost if you need to boost the output. Battery range, 0 to 100%. So I could tone that down. I could adjust it to what I want the battery range to be. I'm just going to leave it at 0 to 100%. Wi-Fi, so I can go in and set up the Wi-Fi account. Again, hopefully we're going to see the ability to access this remotely, which is kind of cool. Unit timeout, that's if there's no activity, no input or output going on. How long will it take to shut down? I have it on 4 hours. That's probably pretty long, but that's fine for now. Screen timeout, 5 minutes. And firmware, if there's a firmware upgrade, then, oh, look at that. Now, while the app works well and allows you to control all of the things you need, the Bluetooth connection was pretty weak, far weaker than any other units that I've tested in the past. With most power stations, fridges, and other Bluetooth devices, I have generally a 30 to 40 foot connection without any problem. And others are way more than that. There's items that I have in the back office of our house, and I'm able to reach them all the way on the other side of the house through all the walls. With the Andes 600 Pro, I'm lucky to get a connection at 10 feet. Now, this is not going to be an issue for many people, but for me, when I'm monitoring a system during our testing, I need to keep track of all of its charging, all of its discharging, whether I'm using the solar panels. For whatever reason, I'm monitoring these units throughout that testing phase. So the range was an issue for me. If this is in the back of your vehicle and you're just checking on it, that's never going to be an issue. So I'm going to point it out. If you, for some reason, need long-range Bluetooth connectivity to it, it's going to be a small problem. If that's not an issue for you, well then, it's not going to be an issue. At the time of this review, the app can only connect to the unit via Bluetooth, even though when you set it up, you connect it to your Wi-Fi network. Now, what they told me is an upcoming update will allow you to connect to it from anywhere, so you can control the unit remotely. Now, we can do that on some of the other power stations that we've reviewed, so I'm looking forward to that. Let's talk about Ampace. I'm sure most of you have never heard of the Ampace brand before and are more familiar with brands like Blue Eddy, Jackery, Goal Zero, and others. So is Ampace some cheap Chinese knockoff, and can their products be trusted, as well as their warranty, right? Ampace isn't just some company that grabs off-the-shelf parts and slaps them into a new box. They are the company behind many innovative battery technologies. They're the leading provider of drone batteries. That's how I had heard of them before. They make motorcycle batteries, home battery storage solutions. These people know what they're doing when it comes to battery technology. This product line is simply their first direct-to-consumer products. In the past, they supplied the products for other companies. This is their first one. But let's jump back into the product and see what we like and don't like about it. On the front, I'm going to turn this thing on here so we can see it in all of its glory. It has the standard 12-volt port, as I mentioned before, with the two 5521 ports. Again, I've complained about why this is still an industry standard. I hate this port. It was designed for things to pop out of it, but so many devices have it, you really need to have it as well. And I want secondary ports that are more secure, and the 5521 ports are that. They work. Why someone hasn't developed an industry standard that has some slots in here with pins on the plug so you can push it in and turn it and securely lock it, beyond me. Whoever does that first and makes it an industry standard is going to win the game. So, hate this port, but it has to be here. I kind of like the 5521s and the fact that they're rated the same as the other one. That's a big plus. My fridges have come undone from here driving down the freeway. Not on this particular unit, but in the past. And it's happened to almost anyone who off-roads with a fridge plugged into a power station. So I like the 5521s. Again, not as good as something more secure, but it is definitely better than not having any other option. Now, since all of our fridges and diesel heater all use the same plug, I ordered a cable with bare leads, as well as a pack of 5521s, and I soldered up my own cable. So not only does it give a more solid connection, it still leaves another 5521 and the regular 12-volt port available for other devices. So if you're handy at all with soldering, highly recommend just making a 5521 plug for your fridge, plug it in. You're not going to have problems with this thing working its way loose while you're traveling. Total cost to build this is probably 15 bucks. So, and again, this plug works with my Dometic, my IceCo, my Set Power, my diesel heater. So all of our 12-volt devices that we take with us all have the same plug. So handy to make a custom plug to work with the 5521s. Now on the other side, we have 4 USB ports. 2 18-watt USB-A ports, totally standard. 1 USB-C 100-watt port, and 1 60-watt USB-C port. This is one section I'd like to see improved on. In today's world, we have more and more devices either powered by or charged by high output USB-C. I would love to see 4 to 6 100-watt USB-C ports along with the 2 USB-A ports. I certainly have devices that don't need the high power, and the USB-A ports are fine. Underneath that, we just have 2 AC 110 ports. I think that's plenty. Unlike other power stations that have up to 6, that's not needed when you're camping or overlanding. I've never used more than one. 2 I can totally live with. 4 or 6 is a waste of space and just adds to the cost. I think 2 is a great option. On the top, we have this light. And this is, on the top, we have a light that we can control with the button. Over on the right, there we go. Fairly useful when you're using the power station in the tent to get everything set up. 3 brightness levels plus like the SOS mode. The screen layout, really nice. Easy to see the amount of battery left, the estimated runtime left, and this changes to how much longer it will take to charge when it's receiving power input. So you'll either see how much time is left on the battery or how much time is left to charge to full. Over on the right, we have on the right side of the screen, we have output watts. So we can see how much power our devices are running. There's also icons for showing any warnings, a fan indicator, a Bluetooth status, Wi-Fi status, sleep mode, and all of the output and inputs on here. So very happy with the display on here. I like it. Turning it around, we have our regular AC input. Yes, uses a standard power plug as the power supply is built into this, which is surprising in a unit of this size. I would have expected it to have a outside power brick, but that's all built in, which is nice. And next to that, we have a standard XT60 plug for connection to your car charger or solar panels, or even just extending the capacity by taking another power supply and plugging it into here. On top, we have this interesting light source. It does this cool color changing pattern. I would prefer a setting that just provides a device status, like blue for charging, green for fully charged, orange for discharging, red for low power, like less than 5%. Instead, it just cycles through this, which is funny because on a couple other review videos, they thought that was the coolest feature ever. I'm just meh on it, but it would be cool if it was used for something. Fortunately, you have this in your tent at night, whatever, you can go into the app and you can just turn that off. So let's summarize. All right. What we have is a mid-range capacity power station. It's totally packed with features. Features best-in-class technology at a pretty affordable price, which you can see here on the screen. The high efficiency of the unit means you get more available power than some competing products that have the same watt-hour spec. Now, what I mean by that is many of the power stations out there will have about a 90% efficiency. That means 10% of the battery capacity is used to run the unit. The screen, the lights, whatever, just the inverter. This has a 95% capacity or 95% efficiency, so it's only using 5% of the battery to run the system. So the fact that it will actually power our diesel heater, huge win, I'm sure not only for us, but other people, as the only other stations that we've tested are the Blue Eddies, which will do that. The DC 5521 ports, really nice addition, although I'd still like to see a more secure type of port here. Again, like Mini Andersons, XT60s, something like that. The Andes 600 Pro has excelled at every test we have thrown at it with flying colors. I have used this numerous times over the past month. Very happy from it. Now, aside from the 12-volt plug stuff I've mentioned multiple times now, and my wish for more USB ports, if there was one feature they, or any power station manufacturer for that matter, could add that I would find useful, it would be a shutdown notification. In its last dying breath, I would love to get a notification to my phone and a loud alarm from the unit telling me the unit is going into low battery shutdown. I think this would be really, really useful. I can think of numerous times where I've ran out of battery and I didn't know. So all things considered, I really think this is one of the best power stations in its class. I don't think anybody would regret this purchase. Now, we are going to have a discount code, again, right here on the screen, so you can see what you can save by buying it right now. But I think my favorite units so far have been the Blue Eddies. They've performed excellent. This is right up there with that. I have zero complaints about its operation, how it works, the build quality, the fit and finish. This is all top notch in my book. So, looking for a quality, smaller capacity unit like this, you're not going to go wrong by purchasing the Ampace Andes 600 Pro. So, I'm really happy with it, if you can't tell. I think you would be too. It's not a bad purchase. Now, if you want to know more of the things that we're doing, where we're going, some GPS waypoints, GPS tracks that we do, behind the scenes stuff, things when we get them in for testing, you want to know about that, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/trailtraveler. Absolutely optional for the people who are members over there. Absolutely appreciate all of you. Really helps us to support the channel, but you're not missing out really on our standard content. That's for bonus content. So thanks for watching. From Katarina and myself, stay safe out there. We'll see you on the trails.